Picture this. It's Sunday night, you're lying in bed, phone in hand, and you've just spent the last 45 minutes going down a rabbit hole of personal finance videos. You've watched someone explain index funds, you've seen the compound interest chart, you've read 3 Reddit threads about Roth IRAs, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, something clicked. You felt it, that little spark of, okay, I actually need to get my life together. And then you put your phone down, turned off the light, and thought to yourself, I'll start Monday. Monday's a good day to start. Fresh week, clean slate, new me. And then Monday came, and you didn't start. And you told yourself you'd start next month when things settle down a little. And then next month turned into next year. And here you are, still watching videos, still feeling that spark, and still not starting.
My name is Nico, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. And if that opening felt uncomfortably familiar, you are exactly who this video is for. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is all about the psychology of money, the traps that quietly keep us stuck, and the real practical shifts that actually move the needle. Before we get into it, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, because what I'm about to share with you is genuinely one of the most damaging financial patterns I see in people in their 20s and 30s, and almost nobody is talking about it the right way. Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest with yourself. How many times have you said, I'll start saving when I get my next raise? How many times have you told yourself, I'll pay off that debt once things slow down a bit? If the answer is more than once, stay with me, because we need to talk about the I'll start tomorrow trap.
Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're driving across the country and you need gas. You're at about a quarter tank. You pass a gas station and you think, I'll stop at the next one. And you pass that one too. And the next. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you should stop, but the tank isn't empty yet, so it feels okay to keep going. And then one day, you're on an empty stretch of highway at 2 in the morning, and the needle hits 0, and you're not near anything. That's what financial delay does to you. Every tomorrow is just another mile on an emptying tank. And the brutal irony is that the cost of stopping now, just 5 minutes, just a small effort, is almost nothing compared to the cost of breaking down on the side of the road later. That's the trap. Not that you're lazy. Not that you don't care. It's not the tank doesn't feel empty yet, and so it always feels like tomorrow is just as good as today. Here's where it gets really interesting. The I'll start tomorrow trap isn't really about procrastination the way most people think about it. It's not a time management problem. It's a psychology problem. And specifically, it's rooted in something called present bias, the very well-documented human tendency to overvalue what's happening right now and dramatically undervalue what's coming in the future. Your brain, at its core, was not built to think in decades. It was built to survive the next few hours. That's just evolutionary wiring. When our ancestors were on the savannah, thinking 30 years ahead wasn't the priority. Finding food today was. And so when you sit down to think about your retirement account, some deeply embedded part of your brain goes, that's not a real problem right now, and quietly nudges you back towards something that feels more immediate, more tangible, more real. Scrolling, spending, avoiding. That nudge feels completely normal. It feels like common sense even. But here's the crazy part. That same wiring that kept your ancestors alive is quietly costing you tens of thousands of dollars a year, and you don't even feel it happening. Now, let's talk about the real math, because I want this to land in your gut and not just your head. Let's take 2 people, both 25 years old, both earning the same salary, both aware that they should be investing. Person A decides to start today. They put away $400 a month into a broad market index fund. They're not doing anything fancy, they're not picking stocks, they're just being consistent. Assuming a pretty conservative average annual return of 7%, by the time they're 65, they have just under $2 million, roughly $1.97 million. Now person B, same age, same income, says, I'll start next year. And may mean it, they fully intend to start. But life happens, there's a vacation, a move, a car repair, a wedding, and before they know it, it's been 3 years. They start at 28.
Same $400 a month, same 7% return, same retirement age. Do you want to guess the difference? Because this is the part that will blow your mind. Person B ends up with around $1.57 million. The 3-year delay cost them roughly $400,000. $400,000, not because they spent it, not because they made a bad investment, but because they waited 3 years. That's it. And here's what makes it even more staggering. The actual money person B contributed was only about $14,400 less than person A, but the outcome difference is $400,000. That's the compounding gap. That's what I'll start tomorrow actually costs. Not a few months of contributions, $400,000 of future wealth. Gone because the tank didn't feel empty yet.
But let's go even deeper, because the math is just one layer. The psychological layer is where this thing really gets its teeth into you. Because here's what most people don't understand. Every time you delay a financial decision, you're not just losing money, you're reinforcing an identity. You are literally teaching yourself who you are. Every time you say, I'll start Monday, and Monday comes and goes, your brain logs that. It updates its model of you. And slowly, quietly, you become someone who intends to do things but doesn't. And once that identity takes root, it starts to bleed into everything. You don't just delay saving, you delay the side hustle you've been thinking about, the budget conversation you need to have with your partner, the credit card you keep meaning to pay off more aggressively. The I'll start tomorrow habit is never contained in one area. It spreads. Because you've told yourself through your behavior that you're a tomorrow person. And here's the flip side, and this is the part I really want you to hear. Every time you do take a small action, even a tiny one, your brain logs that too. You start to become someone who does things, someone who follows through. And that shift from I'll start tomorrow to I start today is not a discipline shift, it's an identity shift. And identity shifts change everything.
So what does starting today actually look like? Because I think a lot of people get stuck because they imagine that starting means overhauling their entire financial life in one afternoon. And when it feels that overwhelming, the default is tomorrow. But let me reframe this for you completely. Starting today might mean opening your brokerage account right now and funding it with $50. It doesn't need to be $400. It doesn't need to be the full recommended savings rate. It just needs to be real. It needs to be today. Because the first domino isn't the amount, it's the action. The first investment you make isn't growing your wealth, it's growing your identity. You are becoming the kind of person who invests. And once you're that person, it becomes dramatically easier to be consistent, to increase the amount, to stay the course when the market dips, because you've already proven to yourself that you do this. That's not small, that's everything.
Now, here's something that doesn't get talked about enough in the personal finance space. The hidden cost of inaction isn't just the money you don't make, it's also the money you do spend. Because when you're in I'll start tomorrow mode, there's a psychological phenomenon where the lack of structure actually increases spending. Think about it. When you don't have a budget, when you don't have automatic transfers set up, when your financial life feels like a vague and slightly shameful mess you haven't dealt with yet, what happens? You spend more. Not because you're irresponsible, but because when there's no system, there's no friction. The money sits in your checking account and your brain sees it as available. The subscription you forgot to cancel keeps charging you. The Friday night dinner gets a little more extravagant because, well, you'll sort out the budget next month anyway. This is what I call the walking away money problem. It's not one big decision draining your account, it's 100 tiny non-decisions, all of them quietly costing you. And the fix isn't to track every penny and live in financial fear. The fix is simply to start. Set up the automatic transfer, put the budget in place. Because the moment you create structure, you create friction against the unintentional spending, and your money starts going where you actually want it to go, instead of just away.
Let me give you a real-life scenario that I think will resonate. Picture someone, let's call her Maya, 29 years old, good job, decent salary. And Maya is not bad with money. She's not reckless. She just hasn't really started.
Every year around January, she thinks about opening a Roth IRA. Every time her company emails her about the 401k enrollment, she thinks, I need to read through that properly, and puts it aside. She eats out a little too much, but it's not crazy. She's just floating. Not building, not sinking, just floating. And from the outside, life looks totally fine. She's comfortable. But here's the quiet tragedy. Maya, at 29, is in her single most powerful investing decade. The money she invests right now has 35 plus years to compound. The money she invests at 39 has 25. The money she invests at 49 has 15. Every year she floats costs her not just 1 year of growth, it costs her 1 year off the back end of the compounding curve, which is where all the real wealth is created. The last 10 years of a 40-year compounding journey can represent more than half the total value. Half! And Maya is unknowingly trading those years for the comfort of not having to think about it yet. That's the I'll start tomorrow trap in its most insidious form. It doesn't feel like a trap, it just feels like normal life.
So here's what I want you to actually do after this video. Not tomorrow, right now. Pick one thing, just one, and do it today. Not the whole thing, one thing. If you don't have a budget, spend 20 minutes this evening writing down your income and your 3 biggest spending categories. That's it. If you've been meaning to increase your 401k contribution, open the portal tonight and bump it up by 1%. Just one. If you have a credit card you've been ignoring, pull up the statement and see the actual number. Just look at it. Because here's the truth. The starting is always smaller than the avoiding. The thing you've been putting off almost never takes as long as your brain has convinced you it will. And once you do it, once you actually start, something shifts. The anxiety that was quietly sitting in the background, the low-level financial stress that hums along under everything, it loosens. Not because the problem is solved, but because you're finally moving. And moving feels completely different from waiting. Here's the last thing I'll leave you with, and I want this to really land. Every financial habit you build, every dollar you invest, every debt payment you make, it doesn't just compound financially, it compounds personally. The person who starts investing at 25 isn't just richer at 65. They're more confident, more decisive, more financially fluent across every decade in between. They make better career decisions because they have a financial cushion. They take better risks because they understand money. They worry less, they enjoy more. They show up differently in their relationships and their work. The compounding isn't just in the account. It's in the person. And the version of you who starts today, even with $50, even with a messy budget and a lot still to figure out, that version of you is on a completely different trajectory than the version who waits until Monday. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start, because you are becoming the kind of person who starts. And that person changes everything. If this hit home, drop a comment below and tell me what one thing you're going to do today. I read every single one. Subscribe if you're new, like the video if it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one.